Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Samson. Yesterday was patch day, we got a first booster pack added officially to the game, and if you don't know maybe what booster packs are, essentially they're little content patches which take mods that the people have created, and if they deem them well enough or good enough or maybe just thematic enough to be added to the game, those mods get added officially. So it's a very good idea because obviously we have modding tools now, we can basically create whatever we want, and if we create something really cool that gets a lot of popularity, if the creators think that it's a good addition to the game, or maybe if it's just thematically correct, then they can add it officially via these so-called booster packs. From what I believe, there were supposed to be 12 booster packs, one for every month, and this booster pack is actually January's booster pack, and because they had other things to work on, like API, they had to upgrade it, they had to prepare the Isaac for the Switch and probably other consoles as well. Just because of that, that obviously took priority and they didn't really gain or make the booster pack fast enough, but from what I understand, the next patches or the next booster packs should actually come much faster. So essentially, how can you qualify, so to say? And there's really no rules. One thing is you kind of have to be wary of, that you have to keep it thematic. So you can't just add laser beams and just, that's it, you know? You can't add lightsabers to the game. You have to be at least somewhat in the spirit of the game, so it fits the Isaac game thematically. Obviously, I think a lot of us know the May mod, which adds a new character, which is like a telepathic character which can control tears, and obviously she's very cool and just super amazing. But because the creators think it's unfit for the game, they don't really know how to include her officially, so to say. They won't add it, and for that reason, while even though it's a good mod if you want to get officially added to the game, which I believe a lot of people do want to, obviously, I think at least some portion of the population who are creating mods are creating them just for the recognition of their item being in the game or just their addition, and I believe that's kind of important to know. But for the time being, the first booster pack added 10 new items, or 9 new items, and a few trinkets, and also some quality of life additions to the game, which I think we've all missed. I think the biggest one of those is probably the charge bar for Brimstone and Maw of the Void and things like that, and I think it's great because a lot of the times you can get a combination of items which maybe don't really work that well, and you don't see yourself charging up that Brimstone, especially if you have a long delay. You don't really know when it's ready, so for that reason it's a good idea to have that option in the menu. So if you just want to turn that off, you can toggle it on, and then suddenly you see for how long you've been charging your any item that you might have up, and then when you can release it. Some of the other additions, quality of life, which maybe I don't agree on so much, are the dice room additions. And in this case, obviously, if you've played the game for a long time, you probably know what the dice room does. But if you're new to the game, maybe you don't really have an idea. And I believe what it did in this case, I haven't really seen it so far, is when you enter a dice room, there are some little indications which tell you what that particular dice room does. I think on the D6 there's like a D100 effect, which indicates that it rerolls everything in the room, it rerolls everything that you have, it rerolls basically all of the items in the room as well. So that's an indication, maybe a little bit of a help if you get them confused, and I understand how you could get them confused. I'm not really that good with numbers myself, so it's an addition maybe that I don't agree with. I think that mystery is a big part of Isaac, just exploring, just stepping on a dice room and just realizing what the hell just happened. I feel like everybody deserves to have that experience at least once. And obviously this change is more tailored to the newer players of the game who are maybe either not that experienced at the game, or maybe they just really don't know what the effects are. I think it does keep some of this integral value, so if you're just new to the game, you're really not gonna know what they do, especially with the D100, until you unlock it, and you have to of course use it and then figure out what it actually does. So it's probably not giving away too much, while it's just helping some of the players which maybe don't play the game as much, to help them out. But it's definitely one of those changes that I think at least can be a bit controversial. Out of the 9 items, a lot of really fun items were added. I don't think in this particular run I counted 2 of them. I didn't pick one up because I didn't see it while I was playing the game, but the one I did pick up was Body in a Box, and that's exactly the item that I picked up last. And Body in a Box is a great idea. So I don't know how many of you play co-op, or maybe just how many of you have experienced co-op, but essentially in co-op you are playing as Isaac, one player is playing as Isaac and the other player is playing as a co-op baby, and these babies, there's a ton of them. There's really, I think, over 200 or maybe even more different variations of sprites of a baby, of familiar, so to say, which the second player can play as. But if you're not playing co-op, these sprites are unused and they really don't get any recognition, but that's a shame because some of them are actually either really cute, either really scary, or either really cool. So Body in a Box, what it does, it gives you a random familiar, I think every level or every floor. Don't quote me on that, but it does give you some random familiars. I think they change And essentially, the random familiar looks like one of those familiars from the second co-op babies. And what's even better about it is I think every time you get a new sprite, you also get the random tier effect. So I think some of them can have a homing shot, some of them can have the Godhead effect, some of them can have even something else entirely. And I think it's such a nice addition and such a flavorful thing, and just allows us to actually see those second co-op babies. I really think this game needs more fun familiars, so to say, which are maybe not static, which maybe do something different. And I definitely think this one falls into that category. Even though it's just a regular familiar which just shoots basically, just the fact that it changes its sprite and its color to something that most of us probably haven't seen that much before, I think is a nice addition. And whenever you find that one particular sprite that you like, you probably won't actually want to change it. And I think that a little bit of emotional attachment goes a long way towards just enjoying an item in general. Besides that, all of the booster talk aside, this was actually a really strong run. Obviously, as Samson, you can expect that a lot of the runs that go on for long enough, you can kind of start abusing them. You can start taking advantage of the passive that Samson has, and obviously with Dark Bomb we also have enough Spirit Hearts, which also means that we can kind of afford to sacrifice our health, especially in Sacrifice Room, just to increase our damage further and just kind of deal with those things later. One of the maybe most clutch decisions I've made, not decisions, but items that I got, was the deck of cards. And again, the deck of cards, which is a passive item, which gives you spots for 2 cards and changes every pill onto a card. So having 2 spots or 2 places for cards is a great addition, because it does allow us to essentially take both the teleport rune, both the Emperor card and the teleport rune, so we can get out of boss rush. But even better, you can also, because while you're fighting boss rush and with the rune bag, there's eventually gonna be a chance where you're gonna get an AWAS rune, or at least you're gonna get a rune that you want to keep. So having 2 spots means you can both keep that particular rune which you want to keep and still teleport out to explore the rest of the floor. And this is exactly what I did, and obviously that helped me actually get pretty far in this case. One thing that's maybe a bit of a shame is that Rune Bag, I believe, isn't seeded, which means that not everybody has had the luxury or the chance to get an AWAS rune, which also means that this particular daily is actually much more reliant on RNG than any other daily. I do understand some variance when it encounters as to maybe which items you get, because obviously depending on which items you pick up, you're gonna get different items later on. But with something like this, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I do believe that some pickups or drops aren't seeded, and I think that Runebag is one of them. I know that I read that someone actually did pick up Runebag as fast as it came up, and they managed not to get even one AWAS rune. Maybe there's something else to it, maybe it's just how you explore the rooms, or maybe in which order you go, but I definitely did count on getting at least one AWAS rune, at least from boss rush, just because of how the quantity of runes that you get as you're actually clearing that room increases, just because of how many rooms and floors there are. And obviously I still thought that after beating boss rush I still have enough of the floor left to explore to hopefully get maybe another AWAS rune, and I did get 2 in total, which did allow me to actually go to Womb 2, but sadly I didn't get the 3rd one, which would then allow me to go to Shoal. What's even maybe worse about it, that there were no sacrifice rooms along the way, so I wasn't really able to kind of capitalize on that, but nevertheless I still enjoy the fact that maybe this run didn't go as long, but at the same time it's kind of unfortunate that other people didn't have the same chances I did. Maybe this is just my lucky daily. I do tend to get some unlucky dailies, and most often than not, I think it's my fault for just putting me in that position. I think luck is definitely one of those things, especially Isaac, that you can inflict or maybe alter to some extent. But in this case, we did get to AWAS runes, I was able to get to Womb 2, and we did finish in the 50th place. I did take a lot of damage, even though my damage penalty probably doesn't reflect that, and I think the majority of that was from boss rush, and in boss rush it was just a weird position of rocks and how the enemies spawned. It was odd because I really couldn't dodge, and some of the waves were just super difficult to deal with, and I did take some unnecessary damage. Overall, also because of our low range and because I was trying to get a lot of damage down with Maw of the Void, especially because I was trying to rush, also did lead me to some uncomfortable positions, which again led me to taking some unnecessary damage probably. But the rest, I would say this was a very decent run, a very fun one, nothing too spectacular. I was hoping for maybe a few better items. Obviously in this case Body in a Box didn't really have its chance to shine, but I did see it at least in one instance where you had triangle tears and I believe the Godhead effect, so that was pretty cool. And if you're playing, I wonder if those Body in a Box characters are seeded as well, so If they're seeded, please let me know, because I would like to know if you actually had the same ones, but if they aren't, that would probably be also interesting. I think this is one of those instances where it doesn't probably really matter if it's seeded or not. Maybe there's like one particular one where it depends which body in a box you get, but most often than not, I would say this is one of those items that probably shouldn't be seeded, or at least if it isn't seeded, I wouldn't be too upset, unlike something like a rune bag, which obviously can have a very big impact on the run. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.